A little bit about us. ZAACT Consulting is a solutions-based consulting firm here locally in Utah, helping clients enhance their productivity and create a better work experiences from their technology investment, like Microsoft Teams. Our team of architects and developers, designers and analysts, and project managers are passionate about Microsoft and want to bring both innovation and best practice methodologies to our partnerships. We focus on things like Teams, the Office 365 stack, products like SharePoint, Power BI, and Azure, and can help you and your office use these products better to get the most out of your technology spend. I want to go ahead and introduce Eliza Smith. She has been a software applications facilitator for over 20 years. She's also been a technical writing consultant and an adjunct professor at Davis Technology College and Weber State University. She has taught classes for Nike Corporation and local companies like Lifetime Products. She loves to teach and travel and spending time with her family and her dysfunctional dog. So with that, we'll turn the time and the rest of the meeting over to Eliza.
Hey, everybody, I'm here. So excited to join you. I want to go ahead and get started. So a little bit, again, what's interesting about this experience, and I'll just tell you this quick story as we're getting started. I was traveling to do training, and this was the last traveling gig I had, and I was getting ready to get on a plane, and I got a phone call from my husband that said after decades of marriage, he was going to have to work from home due to the pandemic, and I have 4 school-age kids who are all in different schools from college to elementary school. And I found out as I was getting on the plane that they were also all going to have to be coming home from school because all the schools and colleges were closing. So this was all happening as I was getting ready to fly home. So anyway, I want you to know that I get it. And Microsoft Teams has become really important to a lot of us, to our organizations, because it's how I've had kids be able to continue going to school. And it's also how a lot of us have been able to communicate for work. So one of the reasons we wanted to do these sessions was to give people more background on Teams, because I think for a lot of us, it hasn't been a choice whether we're using it. It's been a have to. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my screen share. So you're going to see it switch for just a second. And let's go in and start talking about Microsoft Teams. What you're going to see here is a desktop for a user by the name of Megan. And so what I want to do is, as we move through our journey with Teams, we're calling this a quick starter. And the entire objective with this is that we're looking at Teams from the perspective of someone who's fairly new. We're also going to try to put in some tricks, and tips to help you become a better user if you've already been using it for a while. I don't think Teams is that hard to understand. I think what is difficult about it right now, number one, is that a lot of us have had to kind of we had to be thrown into the water. No one gave us any swimming lessons with Teams. It was just like, you're in the deep end, good luck with the pandemic, because some of us had to start working remotely without any time to get ready for it. And secondly, Teams does so many things. So the one thing that I want you to remember about Teams as we take this tour is that Microsoft created Teams with the idea that it's what we call a hub software application. And that word hub is really important because it speaks to Teams being an application that brings things into itself, so you don't have to spend as much time going out. So as we look at Teams, you're going to hear me say, look at how another part of Microsoft Office is coming into Teams, so that you don't have to go outside of Teams to open up that application, with the idea that that's going to save you a lot of time and make you more productive. Now, for today's demonstration, we're going to be showing you the desktop client of Teams. So hopefully you can see right here on Megan's desktop that Teams is represented with the purple box with the white letter T on it. As far as different types of Teams, we've got Teams Desktop, which is the one that most IT departments recommend you use when you're at work. We're going to go ahead and start Teams up here. The second one, though, is Teams Web Application, which is, of course, the version of Teams that you can run from any web browser. And then you have Teams Mobile that will work on a smart device, so like your Android phone or your Apple phone. Personally, if you work in an organization that will let you have Teams on your smartphone, I use it more than my desktop app, especially when I'm traveling. which hasn't been lately, but hopefully in the near future. So as a new user to Teams, one of the first things that I like to introduce people to is navigation, how easy it is to move around in Teams and also get comfortable with where to find things. So we're going to take the perspective that Megan's like many of you, maybe newer to Teams and hasn't had a lot of time to really explore it. So the very first thing I like to make sure everybody's familiar with is that navigating in Teams is really easy. Over on the far left-hand side, you're going to see the navigation pane. This is where the different views of Teams are. And one nice thing Microsoft did here is they didn't make the names of the views very hard to understand. And what I mean by that, for example, is if I want to go to my Teams calendar, that's exactly what the view is called. And when I click on the calendar button over here, it's crazy. It takes me to my calendar. So it's nice that they haven't made these names too difficult to interpret. Right here, you've got the chat view, which we'll spend a little bit of time in when it comes to sending chats to coworkers and groups. So when it comes to navigating, you use the bar on the left to help you navigate. Now, in different organizations, you may see a few different views. In my organization, we're kind of looking at Teams where pretty much everything's available to me. But let's say that there is a view in here that I don't use a lot, like the calls button. Maybe I'm just using voice over IP for most of my virtual meetings and calls. I can actually right click on this particular view and I can remove it. I'm not taking it out of my Teams application. I'm just removing it from the navigation pane so it's not taking up room I don't need. And if I ever wanted to get it back, this is something else that you're going to see a lot in the Teams application, ellipses. In some of the Microsoft Office 365, these ellipses, the applications, they will actually be vertical. But thank goodness in Teams, they are horizontal. But these are kind of the universal more button of Office 365. So whenever you see an ellipses, hopefully you've already all kind of started catching on to this theme. You click on those to see more options, right? So for example, that calls button that I removed, notice it's still here. I could bring it back just by clicking on it again. So you can actually go in and kind of customize the navigation pane. Additionally, if there are views that you use more than others, you can left drag them up and drop them so that they will appear in different order and put things kind of in the order that you want them to go in. We will spend more time going through those different views, but I wanted you to just see how you can customize it right when you get into it. Now, speaking, if I go to a view and say I can't remember which view I was just in, especially for new users, sometimes it's also nice to remind people that Teams is really set up to kind of operate like a website. And the reason I mention that is in the very top left-hand corner, you have a back button. And this will actually allow you to go back to the previous view that you were just in. And then, of course, you've got a forward button. And I know it's really silly, but it helps because you're like, I know I was just there. How do I get back? Well, you use the back and forward buttons. Now, another thing that sometimes gets missed is if you're new to Teams, there is a help system. So as a new user, and sometimes I tease people and say, before you run out of the room screaming, because I know how people feel about Microsoft's help. And we're not trying to dog Microsoft here, but it's frustrating for people sometimes and they tend to avoid it. I just find this after teaching thousands of people how to use different Microsoft applications. But one thing I will tell you about the help in Teams is it's nice because it doesn't actually open a separate window when you go into it. And that's one of the things I do like about it. So if you come down to the bottom left-hand corner, you will see a help button. This will take you into a menu where you can pick what part of the help that you want to actually go into. And they have set up a separate topic just for training. So, if you don't so much want to go in and look something up, but you just want to see what training options there are, notice how nice this is. When I go into it, it doesn't require me to have a separate window open that I have to move around and have separate from the application, like would happen if you went into Excel or Word's help. It all stays within Teams. And you can see here that I have, if I scroll down just a little bit, different topics that they've set up here that I can actually go into. And these a lot of times will be videos that you can watch. And at the top, you can actually click on the back button to go back to the previous view. But you can also come in and just search. So like, for example, create channel, which is something we're going to do in just a minute. It takes me in and shows it to me. I'm not saying it's perfect, okay, but I do think it's in my opinion, better than some of the other applications. Here's one more cool thing about it. If you're kind of a Teams junkie and you like to find out about what's happening and what the new things are, there's actually an option in here to go to see what's new. So something that's interesting about Teams is that they are releasing new features in Teams almost weekly right now. Notice right here, this is April 20th, right? So that was not very long ago, the beginning of this week. As you scroll down, you've got April 17th. So if you want to know what's coming, you can actually come into the help and they will let you know about that. I think it's kind of fun. Now, do keep in mind that all because you see it here, the IT department in your organization may not release things quite as quickly, but you can kind of stay up to speed on what the new stuff is going to be. So I like the help. I can't promise you're going to like it, but I do think it's an improvement. All right, so guess what? Let's actually get in and talk about one of the main showstoppers with Teams. And I do find that for new users, this is usually a place where they will spend some time, especially if they've already had Teams created for them that they're already a member of, and that's the Teams view. So over in my navigation pane, I'm going to jump right into the Teams view, and let's take a little bit of time and actually break down what a team is in Microsoft Teams. And a couple of things I'm going to mention as we're moving forward. If you do have a question come up, you can post it into the chat of our Teams meeting room. It's down on the bottom. It looks like a little sticky note. And we have a moderator, Aubrey, who's standing by to kind of help take those questions in. And we're going to pause here in a couple minutes, about midway through, for just a few minutes and look at questions that may have been posted. And also we'll save a little bit of time at the end. Sorry, I forgot to mention that as we were getting going. So a question I like to ask, and I know because everybody's muted, this is kind of going to be hypothetical, but think about it. What exactly is a team when it comes to this software platform? And it is a good question to think about. Really, a team is any group or individual who's trying to get something done. So that's a very broad topic. An urban myth that's been passed around is that the development team for Microsoft that developed this application, they actually had all their developers make a team of one. Now, some organizations may not be on top of that, but yeah, a team could be as small as one person, or it could be as big as hundreds of people. There's really no limit. So just remember that a team is all about collaboration. Now, you'll see here that the teams that Megan's part of have a name and a logo. So right here, I've got the Mark 8 team, the Digital Initiative, Public Relations team. Here's a gotcha for new people. So if you are helping any of your coworkers with Teams, this is something that we found for some reason catches people a little bit. When you click on the name of the team, everything under it will collapse up inside, which is great when you're trying to go really minimalist in the view of your teams. But for new users, they don't realize that if they don't click on the team name again and expand everything out, they can't actually get to all the important components of their teams. Now, how many teams could you be part of? That's another question that I like to have people think about in your organization. The answer is there's really not a limit, and some of you may already be experiencing this. I call it teams overload, where you're suddenly a member of 25 teams. And all because you're a member of a team doesn't mean you're going to be focusing in that team all the time. It just means that you're a team member. You may only actually have to focus in that team a couple of times a month. To help deal with the team's overload, one of the things that's important is to manage this list of teams. So you will see here that I have a couple of categories. I have your teams that I can actually expand and collapse, and I also have hidden teams. Now, my best practice for your teams is any teams that I'm working with every day or every other day, I'll keep up here in the Your Teams section. But the teams that I'm only working in, say, every week or every couple of weeks, I put under my hidden teams. And notice that if I expand out my hidden teams section, there's a lot more there. So if I have a team that I'm not working with a whole lot, how do I hide it, right? You'll see that again next to each team's name. You've got that ellipses that I warned you about. We're going to see those a lot. We're going to click on the three dots on the right-hand side of the team. And notice that at the very top, you have a hide option and also several additional options to help you manage the team. So we just clicked on that ellipses. I'm going to hide the digital initiatives team. And notice when things are not always showing, it keeps the teams, again, interface a little bit simpler, easier to look at. To unhide a team, I, of course, would expand out my hidden teams, come to the team that I would like to unhide, go back to the three dots, and this time I'm going to say show. All right, now what about the stuff that's going on under my teams? These are what we call channels. And another thing to think about, especially if you're new to teams, is why would I need additional doohickeys under my team? Okay, what is this idea about these channels? And yes, the reason they called them channels is to make you think of television channels. Now, I can tell you when I was a kid, I only had like 4 channels on my TV, black and white, that dates me a lot, and half of them didn't work due to all the mountains around the little town I grew up in. But these days, we have hundreds of channels focused on sports and talk shows and cartoons, you name it. The reason that Microsoft created channels for a team is they know that teams have usually more than one thing that they're trying to accomplish. They may have one major objective, but think about the projects that you may work on. Usually when I ask this to an in-person group, they'll say, oh, most of the major projects that we're involved with have at least 5, 6, 7 different major objectives. So what if you had to take all those things and shove them into one place? Think about how messy that would get. So the idea with channels is that they allow the team to have sub-focuses, an area for sub-projects, sub-conversations, you name it. It's a way to focus the different needs of the team into their own separate areas. Now, every team, when it's created, starts with a general channel, like you see here. This is one of those things that you can't move or delete or do anything with unless the whole team is deleted. So how do we add a channel to our team? So right here, I have this digital initiative team, and right now it only has one channel. I'd like to create a new channel so that we can have planning for a new project that we're going to start developing. So this is, again, where we're going to use I know you're all waiting for me to say it, the ellipses. We're going to click on it and come in to the menu, and this time select Add Channel. Now, this is another thing. If you're on a PC, a lot of the clicking on the ellipses, a lot of you are probably thinking, why isn't she saying to right click? Well, I'm going to. If you're on a PC, you can also right click and come in and go down to Add Channel. So this is where I'm going to name my channel. Now, something that I want you to show you that's kind of cool about channels is there's 2 different kinds that you can create. Now, I will put a caveat here. Some organizations have not turned this on yet. It's a fairly new feature. In the last year, Microsoft rolled this out, but it's something that millions of Teams users were asking Microsoft to do. So notice at the top, I've named my channel Training. And down here, it tells me that right now the privacy of this channel is set to be standard. But that means every member of my team can have access to this channel. But something that people kept begging Microsoft to create was the way to create a subgroup where only limited members of the team could get to a channel. For, say, maybe managers within the team, or maybe a subgroup that didn't need to involve everybody else. So right here, you can actually create a channel that's called private. And what that means is that only the people that I select on this next step who are already members of my team will be able to have access to this channel. So notice as I start typing these people's names in, they're already members of my team. Therefore, it's allowing me to add them. So this is just coming again from my team's membership. Let's add one more. Let's bring in Patty. No one else on the team will even know that this channel exists, nor will they be able to see it. So when it's finished, you'll see here that it gets added. Okay, I'm going to expand it out. I know it's a little bit small, but the one thing that's different is that it has a padlock next to it. And again, only those members that I selected to be members of this team will even be able to see it. Other than that, it will work like a normal channel, but it has limited membership. Once you make a private channel, it can't be turned into a standard channel. It's kind of a one-way trip. But it is a way to create kind of a private space within the team area. Now, we've talked about creating channels, what's going on inside of them, because this is really where all the work and the activity of your team happens. It's my favorite part about teams. So I want to go into a channel that we've kind of set up so that you guys can get some ideas, and hopefully some of you are already working with channels. So right here, I've got my Mark 8 project team general channel. And remember, the general channel is the one that's created when you get your team, when it's made or you make it. And the idea behind the general channel is just like the name implies, it's the place for all the general communication, the general activity of the team. So my channels are actually divided into tabs. So up here in the top middle, I can see the name of the channel, also the icon representing the team. And then as I move over, I'm going to see that there are tabs here. a post tab, a files tab, and then a weird one called Mark 8. Any new channel that you create will always, even if it's private, have these two tabs, posts and files, right? These are the default tabs. And again, this is another part of Teams that you cannot remove. You can't rename these, you can't delete these, you can't change them. They're basically part of the structure of the channel. The only way to get rid of them is to delete the whole channel. So what's going on inside of these? I actually want to come over and start with the third one, which I know you're probably thinking, what? It's this one right here called Mark 8 General FAQs. Now, in most channels, I should say, yeah, in most channels, the name of this third tab that will be created in a new channel is called a wiki. Think of it as like a blank notebook page for your channel where you can post links, where you can put information, but by default, it's called wiki. And do you know what most people do with it? And I'm not saying this is you guys, but most people will right click on it and remove it from their channel, which is entirely fine. And if you were to remove it, you could actually bring it back. But I want to give you an idea of maybe how you could use it. And yes, people are using it. I have seen companies and different organizations that are making good use of the wiki. This is one idea that I've seen a lot of groups use. You can right click on that wiki and rename it, which is what we did here. And we're creating basically an FAQ for the channel. And it's just barely been started. But the idea is that when people have questions about what to do with or what the channel is for, even what the team is for, they can come to this wiki and get that information. I've also had people use this as a training site or a training document for the team. So, just to give you an idea that the wiki does actually have a purpose, it doesn't mean it has to be your purpose, all right? But just ideas. Now, let's get in and talk about one of the most important things you do as a team, and that is communicate. And again, hypothetical question. Right now, where do your groups communicate in your organization? This is kind of an interesting time, right? Because all of us are not working from our normal offices right now. Large majority of America's workforce is having to work remotely. That could mean by the side of your bed. It could mean in your bathroom, right? It's wherever you can find a place. And I can tell you that because my house suddenly got turned upside down and I get to have an office in my bedroom now. And my husband got to take over my office. So anyway, we're all making it work. But what that means is we have different ways to communicate. But one of them now probably is Teams. But in the past, when I'd ask people that question, they'd say, well, I use email. And that was the majority way that people within a company would communicate about projects. Think about how many emails you get right now in your inbox having to do with group communication about projects. And usually when I ask people that, it's a large volume. I'd have people say, well, it's 40% of my email, or it's at least 50%. What if we could take that down and take it down to almost nothing? How would that impact your inbox? This is one of the purposes for this post tab. Instead of sending email to each other about projects internally in our organization, we want to be doing that communication in this post tab. So what you're going to see is this is a persistent chat. And you know what? The great news is I'm not going to tell you about how to send persistent chats because we do that all day on our cell phones. But the thing to think about is, could this become a better way to communicate than sending email? We're not dogging Outlook. We're just saying, hey, email has its place, but for more productive communication, hopefully some of you are seeing that this post tab can be effective. So a couple things to know about it. Every member of the team, unless the channel is private, has access to this, all right? New posts are at the bottom, and then of course, as you know, you scroll up and they get older. Different companies have different retention policies on this area, but it's supposed to be, again, historical, so it will go back in time. Now, let's say, for example, I want to send a really important post that every member of my channel will pay attention to. And right here, I'm going to come down to start a new conversation. But again, to get more tools to help me do this, you'll see that underneath the conversation, I have this capital letter A with a paintbrush. I know it's really little, but I love to use this area because it opens up a bigger conversation area. Now, this is in the go-to-market plan channel, but let's say also I'd like this to go across all the channels of my team, and I don't want to have to post it in every single channel. And I never know who's paying attention to what channel. So again, this is a newer feature, but right here in the top, I have this option to post this posting in multiple channels. Notice it's telling me what team right now and channel I'm in, and then I can select the channels. So right here, for example, I'm going to come in and just check off all the different channels that are part of that specific team. Now I'm not done. Okay, so now we see it's telling me what channels this will go to. Another great best practice when you open this area up is there is a subject line. Okay, now additionally on the toolbar, I can come right here and there's an exclamation point. This will mark this particular posting as being important so that people pay attention to it. Okay. Sorry, I cannot talk and type at the same time, guys, so. Now, additionally, if you want to add, for example, formatting, you guys can see up here that you have a formatting toolbar that you can use. But now that I've added that important, again, stamped this message, when I come down and post it to the channel, remember, it's going to be posted across all my channels. And one way that I can see that, or at least the channels I checked off, is that if I look here, I can see that if I go, for example, to the design channel, I'm seeing that same message. If I go to the digital assets channel, I'm seeing that same message. And the big important thing I want you to notice about it is it has this red circle with an exclamation point in it. Again, another way for people to pay attention to it. Now, as you go into different channels, you might be perusing a channel and find something and say, you know what, that's something that I need to come back into and look at later on. How do I remember that without having to look for it every time? And what I always suggest you do in that case is that you go to the top right-hand corner of this specific posting and you'll see, I know it's shocking, an ellipses, right? Click on that and it gives you an option in this link to save the message. Now, it's not actually saving it. This is like remembering it or bookmarking it or following it. So we're going to go ahead and click on it. Another thing that you could also do with this same little menu is you'll see that you also have an option to copy a link. So say you've got a coworker who cannot find the message for their life. You could actually open a chat, copy this link. Notice it'll open up a copy, and then you could paste it into the chat and send it to them. But in this case, I'm also going to save this message. Now, where do you go to find those messages that you've saved? This is also an important part of Teams because anything that is personalized in Teams, one of your ways to control that stuff is to go up to the top right-hand corner and click on your profile picture. Now, Megan is really cute. She's smiling up here. Microsoft always uses very photogenic people for their fake users. But I've clicked on Megan's profile picture and it actually opens up a menu. And as I mentioned, this menu is pretty important when it comes to affecting your own settings. So in here, the setting I want you to see is saved. So this is where I go when I click on this. Instead of looking at my Teams list now, you'll notice over here, I'm seeing my saved messages. This can be both posts in a channel and chats, which we haven't talked about yet, but that's where we're going to head next. So right here, see that I can click on either one of my saved messages, and it takes me right to it. And notice that for about 5 seconds, it'll actually be highlighted in a white yellow. And it's surrounded by the other important pieces of conversation so that you can see it in context. Now, to get back out of my saved messages, and let's say that one of these I don't need anymore, I can get rid of it just by clicking on the little bookmark. But I'm going to go ahead and come back over to my Teams view. And one final thing just to kind of show you, what if I need to share a file with my team? Again, because this post area is all about group communication, you'll notice that if you look at it, people are putting graphics in here, they're putting all kinds of different things. And when stuff happens to the team even, you'll see, like right here, it's telling me that something was updated in the team. It gets posted to this area. And that's because this is about letting the team know about everything that's going on. So right here, I'm going to reply to this important conversation. And of course, down here, we've got the universal paperclip. Here's the big thing I want you to see with posting a file to your team. And again, this is different in different organizations. So again, remember, we're seeing the art of the possible here. We're not saying in your org this may be an option. I can get files from my computer, from other teams that I might be a member of, or from my own OneDrive for Business. And OneDrive for Business is your own personal business cloud storage that's part of Office 365. So these would be the files, for example, that Megan works with that she's saved in the cloud. And now she'd like to share one of them with her coworkers. So she is going to upload a copy of this RD expense report. But the really cool takeaway here is that Teams allows me to get to my OneDrive from within itself. So remember how I told you I was going to bring in hub ideas? This is one of those hub ideas. And notice that at this point, I'll go ahead and click on it, and it's going to post this to my team, okay? If I can quick and type the message. Now, the other thing is that now that this file is being put here, the entire team will have access to it. The original will still be in my OneDrive. Okay, so that's one caveat to this. So if it's still in my OneDrive, I might want to archive it or delete it if I don't need it anymore. But now it's part of the whole team. So every team member can see it here and open it, but where is this file actually going to get stored? And this is going to take us to the second really important tab in Teams, and by far my favorite, and that is the Files tab. So every team has a Files tab in every single channel. And the first time I saw this, I almost cried. I know you guys think I'm silly, but how many times have you worked with a group and needed a central place to put all your stuff? This is like the walk-in closet for your channel. So every channel has this, and this is actually not Teams. This is SharePoint online coming into your team and creating a document library for all the different stuff that the team needs. Now notice right here, there are different options where you can upload content, you can bring things in, but the exciting thing again is that every member of my team can come in and actually access these files because these files are now owned by the entire team. Now the other exciting thing about this, not only is it storage, it's also collaboration. And let me show you what I mean by that. If I come in here, for example, and I open up one of these documents, and all I have to do to open it is click on it, Microsoft Word in this case actually comes into Teams, okay, so that I don't have to go out. This is the online version of Teams. And do notice at the top, I'll point this out to you in just a second, there is an option to actually take this document and open it in the desktop client of Word if you wanted to, and you could actually edit it there. But for us, the big thing I want you to see as I scroll through this document and come down a little bit is I have the document open, but I'm also going to tell you right now that I also have a coworker by the name of Patty who's in the file with me at the same time. So this is where we're getting into the place where Microsoft Teams becomes a very powerful collaboration tool when you've got people in the org that need to work in files simultaneously. They actually coined a phrase for this. It's called real-time co-authoring. For the sake of my mouth, I'm just going to call it co-authoring. So how do you know that there are two users in the file? Well, number one, as Patty moves around, you're going to see a little green flag. And if I hover on it as Megan, it shows me her name. The other thing in the top right-hand corner, I can see Patty's initials in a circle and also her profile picture. And the really exciting thing about this is that both of us can be making changes to the file simultaneously. And you see that I just had Patty highlight something. And let's say, for example, that Megan comes down and makes some changes as well. Every change we make saves back to the document because everything is saving back to cloud storage, and Teams keeps track of all of that. Now, for the sake of time, I need to have Megan move to her next thing. So she's just going to come in and click on her back button. And notice that this just takes her out of the document and back to the Files tab. Patty is still in the file, so it's not going to kick Patty out if Megan leaves. Patty could continue to make more changes to the file, but the big important thing to know is that the next time Megan comes in and opens up that file, she would be in the most recent version of it because Teams is always saving everything back to the file. So super exciting utility. And again, it's a different part of Office 365 that's giving us this utility with SharePoint Online. And every single channel has this, and it's my very favorite thing in Teams. But what I want to do now is slow down for just a second. And Aubrey, have we had any questions come into the chat? I don't want to turn off the screen share, but I wanted to just give everybody a chance to breathe for a second.
Yes, we have had a couple. We have one from David, and he says that at least he's totally responsible for his Outlook inbox. He's worried with everyone posting and creating channels that it could become a huge mess. Are there general rules for maintaining order within a group or team?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, David, one of the recommendations I would make on that is if you are an owner of the team, remember that as a team owner, and if you aren't, you could ask. You could ask if you know who is actually owning the team. You can set up some different rules in place on the admin side of your team to help manage it. So, one of the things that I would recommend if you own the team is to go up to the team and click on the three dots and come down to your manage team options. This is, again, there are three different roles on a team. You can be a team owner, that would be the person that made the team, a team member, that would be just a normal member of the team, or a guest. And not every organization has guest access turned on. Guest access means that someone from outside your org can actually participate in your teams, and they have even more limited access. But notice here that when you come in as an owner, and I am playing Megan, so I'm an owner, I could actually come in and allocate a coworker, someone else, to be an owner as well. So I could come here and say, hey, Nestor, I need you to be an owner as well to help me manage the team. But David, a few things to think about with how the team is running if you are an owner. When you come in, for example, to settings, some things that you can do is control your member permissions. And these are some of the things that you can give members of the team the ability to do. But maybe you don't want every member to be able to create and update channels. You could actually turn that off. And if you aren't currently an owner, maybe you should suggest that to the team owner to help control the traffic of what's going on. Another thing you can do, for example, is make it so that team members cannot update tabs. Okay, so what we're doing is we're looking at things on the back side of Teams that you can do to help control what people are doing. An additional area in here to focus on if you feel like some of the postings in the tabs might not be appropriate. And again, I have mixed feelings about this. We really haven't gotten into this, but you can add those fun stickers and Giphies. As a team owner, you can actually come in and you can turn those off so that people can't actually do those anymore. So from the admin side, if you are a team owner or you know who your team owner is, you could suggest some of those things to help manage some of that stuff. The other thing is just to have a conversation with everybody and say, hey, what are going to be our protocols for how this team is going to work? What are we going to put in each channel? And actually have a meeting about it, right? Actually talk to people. Any other questions, Aubrey, that we could answer?
Yeah, we have Bob that asked if there's a way to make it so files and Teams open in the desktop app by default.
So great question, Bob. Right now, I don't have a great answer for that. I think that I did see somebody that had created like a big workaround for that, but there isn't per se like a switch inside of Teams that you can set. I do know that's something that users are asking for, but I haven't heard anything in the Microsoft pipeline that that's something that they're going to be adding really soon. My suggestion would be when you go to the file, don't left click on it, right click on it, okay, or go to the ellipses. And I'm sure you're already familiar with this, Bob, but when you go in and open it, don't left click on it, actually go to the ellipses and then select, for example, open in Word. And I know that takes 2 extra clicks, but that way it will actually default. In this case, I've asked it to open it in the desktop client as opposed to the online client. So that's kind of the workaround at this point. There isn't a switch right now to make it just default to everything opening in the desktop. Great question, though.
Awesome. And then so we have Conrad that wanted you to remind us how to spread a comment to multiple channels and teams.
Awesome. Let's do that real quick. So Conrad, again, when you're in the posts area, what you're going to want to do is expand either the reply. So right here with replies, I'm pretty sure this particular functionality, because it's already in a specific one, you can actually come up to the top, but because it's already been posted in this particular channel, posting to multiple channels has to be done from a new conversation. So you want to click on that capital letter A with the paintbrush underneath, and then go up to the top above the bold button, above the paragraph formatting. There should be an option that will say post in multiple channels. But again, this is a newer feature. It may not have been rolled out in your org yet, right? Because right now you're seeing basically everything that you can do in Teams because this is a Microsoft tenant that I'm using. Some organizations are not rolling out the features as quickly. So if you don't have it yet, you haven't done anything wrong. It's probably because your IT hasn't done it yet, okay? You know, Aubrey, let's go ahead and keep going because I want to get to chats and meetings, and then we'll save a few minutes at the end for more questions. Does that sound okay?
Awesome. Sounds good.
Okay, so hey guys, so far everything we've talked about has been group communication, right? What about those times when I just need to chat with one of my buddies one-on-one? So in this case, I want to come up here to the search bar. We haven't even used this yet. And by the way, if I were to come in here and search, for example, for the word Contoso, because I have a file that I know has that word inside of it, as soon as I hit enter, Teams has a very powerful search, but here's the cool thing about it if you haven't used it before. The search results actually come up here over on the left, and Teams will pre-filter the search results. So any chats or messages appear on the Messages tab. And again, this is taking me to anywhere where the word Contoso has been used in a conversation or a chat. People would find distribution lists or groups, right, like mailing lists. Files, of course, would find any files, but you'll see here that when I get to files, my list of results is vast. So always look in the filtering pane for the filters options. I love this because this will let me filter by the team the file might be in and then by the file type. And I super duper love this because if I can filter by either of those, this one still is giving me a lot of options here. So maybe I could also come in and type in maybe who the author of the file was, right? That might help further refine it. That helped quite a bit, right? Now, any of these search results I can click on and they will actually preview in Teams. So this is really cool because I'm not having to leave Teams to open these files and look at them. And also anything that I search for, I have permission to get in and use. Now, what about sending a chat? Actually, up there in the search bar, if you type in an @ symbol, you can start typing in a coworker's name, and this will jump you to, as soon as you pick their name, and I typed an @ symbol, so shift with the number 2 on your keyboard. This will actually send a one-on-one chat notification to my coworker. And we could actually start having a chat from the search bar. Now, when my coworker responds, you see those notifications pop up. But the really important thing to understand here is that now we're leveraging communication that's not to the whole team. This is just going to be seen by Patty and Megan. And of course, the view that manages all these chats is your chat view. Now, chats can be one-on-one or they can be small group. So right here, you'll see I have a chat with Alex, and I actually would like to add a couple of people to this chat. I'm going to come right here to the very top right-hand corner and notice that I can click right there and it gives me an option to add people. So also, because there's a past chat associated, it's asking me if I want to include the past chat history or not. So notice I have options to do that. And this is really nice because if you do need to include them, this would allow you to do that. So your one-on-one chat can suddenly turn into a small group chat. And again, these chats are also persistent in nature. So the new chats are at the bottom, the older chats are at the top, right? And the other thing that comes into play with these chats is after I've come in and I've created this group chat, notice I can also come in and name it. So maybe this is going to be the M400 project group. It's not a new team. It's very similar to creating a group inside of Outlook, but I can now chat with these people. And notice over here on the left, they are now called the M400 project group. I can also actually right click on them and pin them to the top of my chat group. That way they're always up there at the top, easy for me to find. Now, as I look at this chat group, and if I come to the top right-hand corner, I can actually click and see who's currently in the chat group. You're going to see, and I know this is really little, under each person's little cute profile picture, a circle with a different color. So Adele and Alex are white. This is a thing called status. And if you used Skype for Business in the past, Skype for Business also used status or presence. It lets you know if that person is currently available to work with if they're logged into Teams. Notice Megan is green and Nestor's yellow. So Nestor was recently in Teams. Megan is available, but Adele and Alex are not on the Teams network. To manage your own presence, you can come up here to your profile picture. Hello, Megan. And come in and notice that right here you can decide if Megan is busy or if she is set to do not disturb, because she can manage her own status. And when you go into a meeting, of course, Teams will manage that status for you. Now, what if you've got somebody that you've had chats with in the past, but you're no longer working with them? Hopefully all of you are familiar with this, but you can, of course, go to the three dots or right click if you're on a PC and hide that chat. You're not deleting it, you're just turning it off. If Isaiah ever sends me a chat again, he will immediately populate again in my chat list. But managing that chat list, as many of you know, becomes very important because we use it so much. But think of it this way, a chat here is an email, not in your inbox. So pick your pain, right? Because it's going to be in either place. But I do feel like chats are easier to work with than opening individual emails in my Outlook inbox. Now, speaking of Patty and I would like to talk about a file. And here's the great thing about Teams. I can have a chat, but I can also take that chat and escalate it to a video or a phone call right from within the very same place. And yes, this is very reminiscent of Skype, and that's because, as many of you know, Teams is the replacement for Skype. Skype is dying a very slow death, and don't worry, it's very, very slow. But eventually, for many organizations, Teams is going to be the replacement or whatever they choose. So that's why if you've used Skype, you're going to see a lot of things in Teams that are reminiscent of it. So right here, I always recommend before doing a screen share that you add video and audio to it, because I just feel like it makes the experience more fulfilling or easier to do. I'm going to do audio because on my fake training computers, I can't do video. But anyway, here we go. We're sending our buddy Patty a phone call notification, and she's going to accept. Now that we're in this phone call, a couple of things that we can do is look at that, again, file that we were just chatting about. So right here on the bottom of my little phone call that I'm having, notice I'm still in Teams, but I see this share tray toolbar populate. And a button on here that's really useful is the share button. It looks like a rectangle with an arrow pointing up. It's supposed to be a computer monitor. We're going to click on that. It gives me 3 different primary locations I can share from. My desktop would be any, again, desktop that I have open. This one is letting me know I only have one screen. One quick little thing here. If you're sharing a video, for example, from your desktop, make sure that you include system audio with that. Okay, otherwise you'll not be able to hear the video, the audio part of your video. Window, one caveat to this one is it will let you share any of your open windows, but say you open an additional window in that window, I said window too much, sorry, it won't open. Okay, so your best and most full functionality experience is the desktop. Also, PowerPoint files. I'm going to go ahead and bring in a PowerPoint file from Megan's OneDrive that she wants to share with her coworker. One more caveat to PowerPoints is if they're really, really big, they can take a little bit of time to bring in. So we're actually going to be bringing this PowerPoint inside our meeting. Okay. Now let's say that my coworker would like to be able to just go through the slides at her own pace. She can. So we both can look at the slides separately. We don't have to look at them together. But if it's, say, a formal training and you want to lock that down, right here you have this little toolbar. Well, you can see that. The eyeball will allow me to lock down my sharing of the PowerPoint. And notice again, the notification at the top that tells participants that I've now locked it down so they can only go through the slides when I navigate in them. To turn that off, you click on the eyeball again. And now let's say that we're done sharing. I want to go ahead and come in and I can say stop sharing, but we could continue to talk with each other. When we're done, all you have to do is come right here and click on the hang up button and we head out. But the exciting thing is that we went from a one-on-one chat to a phone call or to a video chat. You don't need any special software on your computer to do this. The person that you're chatting with or doing the phone call with does not have to be a member of your teams. All you're doing is using what we call VoIP, which is voice over IP, fancy word, which is the internet and Teams to have that experience with each other. So it doesn't require any additional phone lines or telephony technology. It's super great, and I'm sure many of you are already doing it. I know I'm using it all day long. Now, speaking of formal meetings, Megan needs to check out what she's got going on. So we already mentioned this view at the very beginning, the calendar view, but here's the super awesome thing about the calendar. Again, hopefully most of you figured this out the first time you clicked on your own Teams calendars. This is your Outlook calendar inside of Teams. So Teams and Outlook, once everything's set up, and again, in some organizations, you'll start using Teams before this is fully rolled out, but eventually what happens in your Outlook calendars happens in Teams, okay? Now, when you schedule a new meeting in Teams, you can give the name of the meeting, okay? And then, of course, you can bring in your attendees. And we're just going to do this briefly. I know we're almost to time, and I want to have time for a couple of questions at the end. But I do want you to see here that even if someone is outside my org, I could type in their email address, and Teams is going to recognize that they are not from inside my team or my org, but I can still invite them to my meetings because, as you guys know, and even if you don't, now you're going to, you can have external parties join a Teams meeting. And what they do is they join using a web browser version of Teams, and it's free, and they can still participate in your meeting. Also, right here, notice it's recommending times for when my meeting could happen. This is using the scheduling assistant from Outlook. And if this is going to be a Teams meeting, I can also have this meeting be actually notified inside a specific channel if it's specific to that team. And I can include notes down here for the meeting. But remember that when I schedule it here, it's going to be added to my Teams calendar right here. And in a few moments, it will also appear in my Outlook calendar. So let's say that I go to my Outlook calendar and I have a meeting that I scheduled before our session started, and I'd like to see what it looks like in my Outlook calendar. Right here, I want you to see it's coming up this afternoon at 3 o'clock. We can see it right here. The other one's not in here yet. It usually takes a little bit of time for it to get added to Outlook, so it's not quite instant. But when I open this meeting up in my Outlook calendar, again, the dead giveaway that it's a Teams meeting is right here. I have the link for joining a virtual meeting. And also right here, I have the button at the top. And let's say that I did join this meeting from Outlook because I'm already here. Notice how it takes me right into Teams. And right here, it's telling me the name of the meeting and it's giving me the option to join. So directly from my Outlook calendar, I can jump right into Teams and be inside that meeting. You guys, there's so much more that we could cover, but my last thing that I want to share that I love about Teams is that if you have been away and you need to catch up on what you've missed, the activity view is my favorite because it's going to show you a list of any activity that's impacted your Teams account. And you'll see here that it's chronological. So the new stuff's at the top. The farther down you go, you'll see the activity. Anything in bold means that it's something that you haven't yet clicked on. And when you click on it, it will take you to that item and again do that light yellow highlight for just a few moments. But it is a great way to come in and catch up on what you've missed. Now, I just hate it when trainers go over on time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. We're going to take some time for questions. And I am going to say that I'll make sure we wrap up right on time. But if we still have questions, I told Darren that we could stay longer and do questions. So that's something that I kind of put in as a as a little caveat for the end here, that if we need to spend a few more minutes, but for anyone that does need to jump ship at the end, please feel free to do so. There is one more piece of information that I want to share with everybody as we're getting ready to wrap up. Hopefully you kind of noticed that there is a lot of really, a lot of information about Teams. And it's, again, it's not that Teams is hard. Teams is really fairly easy, but there are so many things that it does. And so in order to kind of help give you even more information, because today we really just glanced over the top of the main functionalities of what a team is. There's a lot more that you can do when it comes to having really functional meetings that produce a lot. And so the last thing that I want to share with everybody is next Friday, we're going to do this same thing again. So May 1st, same time, same happy people, but we're going to kind of focus on a different area of Teams and dig in a little bit further. Two main areas we want to focus on are really managing Teams meetings. Today we just glanced over the top. So we want to look at things like recording meetings, how to bring in closed captions, how to manage who's able to present in your meetings, and then also how to bring in some of those other applications that can really enhance your Teams experience, like Planner and Forms. Those are two pretty productive ones that a lot of people are already using. So if you're interested in, again, participating in those, we'd love to have you come back next week. Again, it's free, and these trainings are going to be recorded and put on ZAACT Consulting's site, available for people to watch afterwards. And a huge thank you to everyone who's joined us today. But now I'm going to go ahead and slow down, and let's take a peek at a few of those questions. Aubrey, do you want to help us with those? All right, I'm actually getting in here and looking to see what we've got here. All right, it says here, okay, so we've done that one. Is there a broadcast type of meeting? This is such a great question because there is. Not every organization has this yet, and I'm just going to briefly show you where you would find it if you do have it turned on. So I'm going to go back into our buddy Megan again, okay, guys? It'll take just a minute for her to come up. And actually, I accidentally went into Nestor, but we'll get Megan up instead because she's been our buddy here. When you go in to your calendar, there is a thing called a Teams broadcast. Not every organization has this yet, or it's a live event, but these are basically set up to be for larger groups of people. And the idea is beyond a Teams meeting, and a lot of organizations cut meetings out at about 250 people. That's a number that a lot of orgs have it set up for. Once you go beyond that mark, you might need to look at doing one of these bigger events. And I'm not sure if I have it turned on in her session yet. So what I can do, if you want more information on one of those Teams broadcasts, I can email it to you. But what I need you to do is put your name in the chat with your email address and just put the word broadcast under it, and we can send you more information on that. Because I don't think I can demo it in this environment, but that is something that you could use for that if your org's turned it on. Okay, so that would be the answer to that. So there is a tool for it, just not sure we have it available yet in your organization. I'm going to keep answering questions. Says, is there a way to see all calendars of team members? Unfortunately, right now there is not. That is the most highly sought after tool inside of Teams. Right now, the only calendar you can see is your own calendar. Yeah, so it's something that they're going to try to work on, but it hasn't been put into Teams yet. So great question. Okay. And I'm just looking here to see more questions. It says here. So I see your question here, Jeff. And I'm wondering if you're more than welcome to unmute, by the way. You can just click on the little microphone by your name in the participant list. I'm seeing here that you've got a question about PDFs. Are you talking about being able to turn off the Giphies and the stickers? Is that what the question's about? I'm just trying to make sure I'm getting the right question here.
No, it was simply, is there a full text search component like in the Microsoft Suite with PDFs? I believe Chris answered the question.
Oh, great. Thanks, Chris. Sorry, I didn't see it. Okay. So this is what Chris said. If anybody's not reading it, it says the OCR on PDFs by default and some image types as well. so it can return some. It's not quite as good as OneNote as the desktop version of OneNote, which probably has the most comprehensive search, but I know Teams is getting better and better. Thank you, Chris, for your help with that one.
I think our
Okay.
last question that hasn't been answered was by Will, and it was, how do you bring up the animated attention circle around your cursor?
Oh, great question. Okay, you know what I did for that? You mean how I've been using that? So like as I've trained, you need to go into your mouse settings for your PC. Is that what you're talking about? And then when you hit the control key on your mouse, it will bring up the little circle around it. Is that the question right there, how I've done that? That's actually a Windows thing. So you need to go into your mouse settings, and it's something that you can turn on there. We use it in training a lot. Yeah, and Pat, I will definitely send you some stuff on the broadcast, the Teams broadcast, because that is a good question. Yeah, and the little animated circle, just go into your Windows search bar and type in mouse settings. And if you go into your mouse settings, that's actually a tool that you can add to your mouse settings. And that's how you do it. So it's actually not a Teams thing, it's a Windows thing. So great question. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining. Did we get all the questions answered? I'm just trying to double check and make sure I didn't skip anybody.
As far as I can tell, we did get all of them. I liked all of the ones as we asked them and they got answered.
Thank you so much for your help, guys, with answering questions. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I hope this has helped. That's really the idea behind this event. We looked at what was going on, and I can tell you within the first week that I was at home, when I got quarantined, and now I didn't have COVID, I was just at home, that I had at least 5 different people ask me and call me about Teams because they were having to use it and they had no choice. It was just jump into the deep end and good luck, hope you can swim. So we hope that this is beneficial. And again, next week, come back because we'll do different next week though. It'll be a deeper dive into meetings and bringing in apps. So have a great week. Darren, do you have anything you want to add as we wrap up?
No, great session. Thank you so much for sharing the information with us. I think it's been very insightful and helpful to everybody that has joined. Again, a reminder for everybody, we have and we'll have this recorded and to make that available. If you do have other questions or you find that the training is something that your entire organization could benefit from, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and we can set up perhaps a company specific training to talk through the specific features that you guys are using or show you ways in which Teams can be integrated into your organization. So again, thank you everybody for attending today. We do appreciate it and we hope that you come back and join us next Friday at 10 a.m. For session 2.
Yeah, everybody, thank you so much. And thanks to Aubrey and the ZAACT consulting team for helping to kind of manage everything. Please have a safe, great weekend. Enjoy springtime, and we will be here next week. Thanks, guys.